Don't mind me. This is just my daily reminder to you not to sleep on my boy, Jason Todd, also known as the Red Hood. Jason's always had a rough life. Growing up with an addict for a mother and his dad being a criminal, it wasn't until Batman saw some promise in this young kid that he took him in and made him the second Robin. However, for Jason, his time as Robin doesn't end too well, being killed by the Joker. Now, Jason Todd stayed dead for a long time in continuity as well as in the real world. However, he was eventually brought back, originally through some continuity shenanigans with Superboy Prime. But currently, the canon way that he got brought back is a nice little dip in the good old-fashioned Lazarus pits. And the first thing that he did when he came back is to see what happened to Joker and Batman. And let me just tell you, our boy Jason was not too happy. Upset with the fact that Batman never unalived Joker for what he did to Jason, Jason made it his mission to get answers and revenge for what happened to him. He went out and learned what Batman learned, followed his path, but not in his footsteps. And just to spite the Joker, who was the original Red Hood, Jason Todd would take up that mantle. Jason Todd truly believed Red Hood is what Gotham needed. A judge, jury, and executioner to the crime in Gotham. What Batman should be. He's kind of like the Punisher in that sense. He has no problem doing whatever needs to be done in order to stop crime, even if that means he has to start taking control of crime. And of course, his first goal was to confront Batman on why he never got revenge for what happened to Jason. And let's just say Jason didn't like the answer. And although him and Batman don't always see eye to eye, eventually Jason and Bruce would mend their relationship and Jason would be brought back into the Batman family, of course under Bruce's rules. And due to Jason Todd's training, he's one of the most dangerous members of the Batman family. With his Robin training, Jason was already an incredibly skilled fighter. However, he would go on to follow the same path that Bruce did in a shorter amount of time to learn what Bruce knew. But Jason would also learn things that Bruce doesn't use. He trained with the League of Assassins, and he also trained with the group called the All-Cast. It's more of a mystical assassin group or off-branch of the League of Assassins. And when it comes down to equipment, Jason has all the same gear that every Batman family has. Grapple hooks, shurikens, smoke bombs, grenades, among some more unique Jason Todd favorites. Of course, Jason Todd has his guns. He carries 2 sidearms on him, as well as he carries a katana, a crowbar, and he can call upon the All-Cast blades. Yes, Jason's actually one of the few Batman family members that can utilize mystical or supernatural powers by calling upon the All Blades. They are essentially an extension of Jason's soul, in which he can use to do heavy damage against magical or mystical enemies, as well as any enemy that has evil in their heart. They're a very powerful and dangerous weapon that Jason has no problem using, but he usually reserves for those heavy hitters. Jason Todd is an incredibly interesting character because he's a character that has so much trauma in his backstory. Even before he died as Robin, he already had a shitty start to life. And then when he became Robin, he always had to measure up to Dick Grayson, and that's a hard task to do. And although him and Batman have had their scuffles in the past, they eventually do make amends. And it is through some unique and interesting individuals that Jason becomes friends with that truly help him grow as a person. So let's talk about some reading recommendations for Jason Todd. And the best place to start is where it actually ends for Jason. Batman, Death in the Family. No spoiler here, this is a story in which Jason Todd dies. After you read that, I recommend reading the fantastic Batman Under the Hood. One of my favorite Batman stories and an amazing, gut-wrenching story at that. This is Batman and Red Hood duking it out for the first time over their ideologies and their previous traumas. From there, I recommend reading Red Hood, The Lost Days. This fills in the gap between when Jason died and when he became Red Hood. It's an interesting story, although it does have some questionable things that happen in it, but still, you should read it. I also recommend reading Batman, Battle for the Cowl. This is set when Bruce Wayne is thought to be dead, and someone needs to take up the mantle of being Batman. Jason dukes it out between the other Robins, in particular with Dick Grayson, over what Batman should be in Gotham, who is best to honor Bruce's memory, and who could be the best Batman. From there, I recommend the New 52, Red Hood and the Outlaws. While this run does have its up and downs and does have some controversy sprinkled on top of it, for the most part, this sets the stage for Red Hood going forward after the New 52. This shows you a new direction for Jason in terms of his thought processes, what it means for him to be Red Hood, as well as his equipment and a lot of his backstory. You also see some unique, interesting relationships between him and Starfire and him and Arsenal. And finally, I would wrap things up by reading Red Hood and the Outlaws from Rebirth. This is the better of the two runs in my opinion versus the New 52, just based off consistency. But honestly, I believe that Artemis and Bizarro are better foils for Jason than Starfire and Arsenal. The concept of this is to make a dark or edgy trinity as opposed to Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. There's, of course, a lot more that you can read for Red Hood, but that's some good material to start things off with, and more than enough to keep you busy. Jason Todd is a fantastic character, and unique in the Batman family because he's willing to do whatever it needs to be done in order to get the job done. His backstory, history, emotional connection with Bruce, and overall approach to how he does things make him a really fun character to read. So whatever you do, don't sleep on him.